All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we'll go over a few pointers to help you dial in accuracy. All right, so if your shots are pulling to the left or to the right, these few pointers can help you straighten things out. All right, let's get into it. And this is what I found that works well with most Glocks. All right, these pointers here. All right, first thing is trigger pull. Okay, some people say, hey, my shot is pulling to the left or it's pulling to the right. Your trigger technique is going to be one of the most important things aside from your grip on the firearm. All right, and of course lining up your sights and stuff like that, but your trigger technique. All right, so some people say, hey, do I squeeze the trigger, do I slap the trigger, do I pull the trigger? And simply put, I pulled the trigger. Okay, and I know everybody hands are different sizes, fingers different lengths, that kind of thing, shapes. I use the tip of my finger and I pull straight back. If you pull straight back, your gun can't go to the left or to the right. All right, and you pretty much be very accurate when you shoot, and it doesn't matter whether you're going fast or you know shooting slow. Okay, so try practicing on that when you're in the range. Okay, that's the first thing. So a lot of you may know these already. So just bear with me. Okay, but there's some folks out there that they're not sure how to correct their shot or don't know what they're doing. So this is just to help those of you out that may want to just fine tune things. Okay, we can always get better. All right, now another thing that's important: when you have your sight picture and your sights lined up, all right, what you want to do is you breathe in, and as you exhale, you just want to hold your breath a little bit. All right, because when you're breathing, your body is actually moving. So you want to just hold your breath for the split second that you're about to press the trigger. All right, so if you haven't been doing that, start practicing that, and then it'll be like second nature. You'll do it instinctively. Now, aside from that, another thing is going to be your grip on the firearm. All right. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're shooting one hand or with two hands. All right, it still applies. A lot of people, as they press the trigger and they hear the gun sound, to hear the gun go off, they kind of relax their grip a little bit, and that lets the firearm move more in their hand. And then they tighten up their grip before the next shot and keep repeating that. All right. So what you want to do is get in the habit of squeezing and following through. So as you pull the trigger, even though you hear the sound of the gun go off and all of that, you want to keep the same grip, the same squeeze that you have. You want to keep that on the firearm. All right. And that will help keep your groups tight and help you be more accurate as well. Okay. So just think of it as a follow through, like when you're shooting basketball, you have a certain follow through that'll make you more accurate, especially with handguns. There's definitely a one-on-one, as I like to say, everything has a 101, dating 101, shooting 101, things of that nature, right? So just keep in mind, keep the same grip, same squeeze all the way through the shot and into the next shot. Okay. And then also practice doing mag dumps. All right. Maybe not the whole magazine, but, 2 and 3 rounds. And then as you get comfortable, shoot more rounds in rapid succession. Okay. So you might get to the point where you might want to try practicing shooting 4 rounds, back to back, as fast as you can. Okay. That'll also teach you to have a tighter grip and follow through on each shot. Okay, because there's no real need to shoot and then reset. The only reason you would be resetting is because you didn't have a comfortable grip when you took that shot. So if you got a good tight comfortable grip, you can shoot 1 shot, you can shoot 3 shots, you can shoot 4 shots, 2 shots back to back to back. All right. And it's not going to bother you. So once you get, comfortable with the sound of the gun going off and, get the jitters out, for all the new shooters, and just get used to hearing the firearm and get used to hearing the noises and the explosions and all that kind of stuff, then, you'll get more comfortable. So don't let it deter you or discourage you. All right. Just take it easy and then ease on into it and go at a good pace. All right. You might go in the range. You might have friends that you're with. They may be more advanced than you. That's no problem. Just keep working on your craft and keep practicing. Okay. So now here are the next things that you can do aside from those little, free things, because those are free. It just takes time and effort to focus and remember to do those and work on those. All right. And then it's just like with anything else. The more you practice it, then, the better you get at it. Okay. Now, the next things, I call them, this first one is common sense. All right. But to some, it may not be. Believe it or not, a clean firearm operates and shoots more accurately than a firearm that has, let's just say, 500 rounds in it through it, without being cleaned, or 1,000 rounds through it, or 800, or whatever number you want to insert in there, So you have to think about it like this. The oiling of your gun keeps the friction down. The more you can keep the friction at a minimum, when these parts start moving back and forth and all that stuff and rubbing on each other, the smoother the gun will feel and the more accurate your shot will be. All right. So that's something that won't cost you anything. It's just a little bit of time. And then, I got a video on there on the channel here, so you can go back and take a look at that. And you can see how to, break your Glock down and clean it and oil it, that kind of thing. All right. You definitely should do it before the first time that you shoot the firearm at the range. All right. And it comes from the factory with, grease on it, but you still want to go ahead and just put a few drops of oil on there before you go and take it out for a test run. All right. So that one is a given. All right. Keep it clean. And especially if it's your carry piece, you want to keep it in pristine condition and keep everything operating and functioning smoothly. All right. You don't want to get yourself in a jam there if you actually really need to use the firearm and it malfunctions, because it wasn't cleaned or functioning properly. All right. Which is kind of hard to do with a Glock, with a polymer pistol, but it can happen, Now, the next thing that you can do is, we'll talk about friction again, right? So you have a lot of parts that are inside the gun that they brush up and rub up against each other. All right. You have your safety plunger. All right. And then the trigger bar. It has a point that brushes across your safety plunger that disengages one of the safeties, the internal safety. All right. You also have, as you get towards the back of the firearm, one of the oiling points that I showed you guys on some of the other videos, where the actual firing pin engages the back of the trigger bar. That's another friction point. Okay. So just things like that. All right. Now, those particular areas, you can actually smooth them out, right? You can accelerate it. When the gun is new, the trigger is going to feel the most gritty, and it's not going to feel as smooth. That's because you haven't broken, it hasn't been broken in. All right. So when you start firing 100 rounds, 200 rounds through the gun, then, the gun will be way smoother than it was when you first bought it. Okay. But what you can do even further is you can polish those friction points, those areas where they have direct contact with each other. All right. So you just polish them up, and that'll make everything a lot smoother. So remember, the key and the goal that you're trying to stay consistent with is keeping everything as smooth as possible. All right. And then polishing does help. All right. Especially when you have the polish in combination with keeping your gun clean and oiled properly, then you'll notice a big difference between your stock trigger and your trigger after it's polished and definitely, broken in, all right, and cleaned in oil. Okay. Now, the next thing would be if you can reduce your trigger pull weight. Now, if it's your carry pistol, Glock comes in at 5.5 pounds on most of their pistols, okay, between 5.5 and 6. So most of the ones that I've bought, I've noticed that they're all around like 5.5 and 5.8, somewhere around there, right out of the box. But if you can reduce that down even 1 full pound, all right, or even 1.5 full pounds, all right, and of course you would have to look into different connectors and things of that nature, but that will actually reduce the time in between shots. Now, it's not going to turn your gun into a fully automatic handgun. It's not going to do that. It's just basically you'll be able to follow it faster because you're not having to pull the trigger as hard. Okay, so just imagine you're on target and you have feels like a strong wall that you have to break through when you're pulling the trigger. Then it doesn't matter. Even if you are pulling it straight back towards you, you're going to be pulling that gun offline just because of, the toughness and sheer strength that you would just have to use just, pulling the trigger. All right. So the less force that it would take to engage your trigger there, all right, the more accurate you're going to be, because the shot will go off a lot faster. It'll be effortlessly, when you're shooting, and it won't be something that you have to really think about and concentrate on, pulling the trigger. And is it going to possibly throw my shot off, or is it going to do this, or is it going to do that? If you have to think about all that stuff and those thoughts pop in your mind, then that means your trigger pull is probably a little too heavy. All right. So for carry gun, I say, anywhere between 4 and 4.5 pounds is a real good, trigger pull weight. Okay. And they got a lot of options out there, as far as that can get you, to that point. All right. So you just have to do a little research and either take it to a gunsmith, or, if you know your way around the firearm, then, you can do it yourself. All right. So those are the main things that I would suggest. And then, just start right there. Usually once you get the things that I just mentioned in this video here, once you get those tackled, you'll be more satisfied with your pistol than you were even when you first bought it. So it's just little things like this that can actually, help get everything, smooth, and just have you, very confident in your firearm. And then as you get down into the compact and micro compact pistols, then that plays even more of an important role, because they have a shorter sight radius, shorter slide, just overall smaller gun, and any little thing you can do gets amplified, So, all right, guys. So that's pretty much it for today's video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.